Hi guys, what's up and welcome back to my channel. I'm back with another episode of Pageant Tips, but today the audience is specifically those of you who want to compete in the Mrs. division of any pageant. As a pageant coach, I have worked with pageant contestants in all age divisions, and I can tell you that the preparation strategy, the kind of tips that I would share with someone who's competing in a Miss pageant or a teen pageant or a pre-teen pageant are so different. And so that obviously extends to Mrs. pageants as well. Because the kind of outfits you would wear, the kind of facial expressions you would give on stage while performing your ramp walk sequence, the kind of heels you would wear, it all actually varies depending on the age division in which you're competing, and the kind of things that the judges are looking for that title holder persona in different age divisions also matters. A simple example that I can give you is that a 20-year-old giving sexy vibes would look really nice on stage, but it would look a little inappropriate if a 13 or a 14-year-old girl was doing it. And so similarly for Mrs. Pageants as well, there are some common nuances that I have noticed in all of the candidates that I have worked with as a coach. And so today I'm going to be compiling all of my observations and learnings and how you can avoid doing those mistakes if you're a pageant aspirant. My first tip for you, if you're a Mrs. Pageant contestant, is to start your preparation early on, at least a year beforehand. I say this for two reasons. One, as a woman in her 30s and 40s, you probably have a lot more responsibilities compared to someone who's competing in the Miss pageant. Not just do you have personal responsibilities, family to take care of, doesn't matter whether or not you have children, there's definitely added family members that are relying on you and would want your attention and time. On top of that, you also definitely have a lot more responsibilities on the work front. So that automatically means that you have lesser number of hours in a day to put into your pageant preparation, which means that you're going to have to get a head start compared to younger contestants. The second reason why most of you will require additional preparation for your time is also because perhaps you've been out of touch with the kind of habits and lifestyle routines that someone maybe in her early 20s is already doing, such as hair, makeup, and going to the gym, working on her fitness on a daily basis. And those are a bunch of things that as a Mrs. candidate, you're probably not doing very consistently. If you are, that is amazing. But it's very common, and I've seen this in clients that I have worked with personally, that when they had kids, there was definitely a big gap in the kind of lifestyle that they were following up till then. And having babies and raising kids is definitely a huge milestone, and your body is not the same before and after it. And so the kind of strength training that you're going to have to do, you having the amount of time that you can put into investing in just yourself has also changed. And maybe you haven't been taking care of your physical, mental health as much as you should be in the last few years. And this is why I suggest that for Mrs. Contestants, know your competition date, have a deadline, and then work backwards. Because you need to know how many months you have to prepare and then break it down into a very organized calendar if you can, and see what requires effort on the fitness front, what requires effort on the financial front, as well as your personal investments. My second tip for you, if you're a Mrs. Pageant contestant, is to start budgeting. And this is really important, especially for your age division, because a lot of the younger contestants are perhaps relying on family, parents, or even just their own jobs. But then again, like I said, you have additional responsibilities. And so there are so many factors to be kept in mind. So make sure that you know how much money this is going to cost you. And realistically putting it out there, Mrs. Pageants are a lot more expensive to compete in compared to Miss Pageants. So make sure that you have a strict budget that you stick to, and then you further categorize how much of that budget you're going to invest in what part of your preparation. Tip number 3 is to build a team. I cannot emphasize this enough, because one of the hardest things to do that I have done till date is probably compete in a pageant. And trust me, it was not easy at all. And in fact, I did have a WhatsApp group called Team Nikita, and I've talked about the importance of having your support system with you when you're competing in a pageant. And it's all the more difficult than it already is for Miss contestants if you're competing in a Mrs. pageant. So make sure that you build a team. Now, this means that you have professional hair and makeup artists that are helping you for different video shoots and sponsor activities and whatever filming you have to do, wherever you have to show up at events. If you don't know how to do your hair and makeup yourself, this is probably going to be a really good investment that you make, that you hire a professional team to do it for you. Not just does it allow you to look stunning, but it also gives you some time to just sit back in a chair and relax, because you have a lot going on, lady. Additionally, your team would also consist of a coach. I highly recommend Mrs. candidates to be working with a coach, because of the fact that this is not something that you're probably going to be doing for the next 5 years. And that's usually what I've seen as a pattern in Mrs. contestants compared to Miss contestants who probably competed when she was 18. And if she didn't win, she goes back when she's 19, 20, and probably for the next 6, 7 years, she's done pageants. But that's not usually the case when it comes to Mrs. candidates. And so, because you're going to have a handful of chances to compete at the pageant, you might as well give it your best shot when you're already taking out the time to do it. And so, investing in a coach is definitely something that I recommend. It helps you understand what the competition's like. When you are competing at that level, you're obviously involved with people of higher age groups automatically. And so the business aspect of pageants that already exists in Miss competitions as well, there's just a lot more business minds at work when you're at the Mrs. pageant. And so you don't want to fall short of that business acumen and those skill sets and regretted later that, oh, I took out all this time, I had this whole budget, and I went there and I realized that, oh, I didn't have the strategy for it. So a coach is definitely going to help you with that. And she's also going to be the emotional support that you need. A coach can also put you in touch with other team members who you can eventually hire. Maybe you need a stylist, so a coach can help you with that. You need to get your own photographer so that you're not running around like a cuckoo when you suddenly have to shoot something really important and you're not able to get that professional in time. And because you're already juggling so much, having that own team of your pageant journey is just going to be super helpful, because these people are rooting for you. And so outside of your family and your children, you do need a team that understands your goals, your vision, and is supporting you no matter what. My fourth tip is to prioritize yourself. The reason I say this for Mrs. candidates is I've noticed this thing in Mrs. contestants is when they start introducing themselves, rather than speaking about herself, she usually says that I am the wife of XYZ and I have two beautiful children. And she goes on and on about her family. And that is a beautiful thing. It's something that I will say personally don't relate to just yet. However, I have noticed that the problem with that in pageants is that the judges are trying to make you win, and you as the individual, they want to know you as the person that you are. And when people are married and they have kids and it's been a few years, they kind of tend to lose touch with their own personal identity. And competing in pageants is a great way to reconnect with yourself, get to know who you are at this stage of life, and also reflect back at everything that you've perhaps done in your 20s and even before that, the kind of accomplishments that you've had, and what makes you you, not what your children look up to you as, or not what your husband or partner looks at you as. And you're no longer defined by those relationships anymore. So when prioritizing yourself, you will also understand that in introductions, perhaps you shouldn't be saying such sentences that you're the wife of this, or the daughter of this, or the mother of this. I want to know who you are. So start prioritizing yourself emotionally, mentally, financially, physically, and that's what's going to help you get further in your pageant. And my last tip for you, if you're competing in a pageant, is to look the part. Now, every single person, no matter what age division they're competing in, has to do this. But when you're competing in the Mrs. division, it's important that you understand what suits your body. What looks great on a 25-year-old may not look the same way on a 35-year-old. And so you have to look the part of a spokesperson and a title holder, but also dress appropriately for your age. Even though it is a pageant, the amount of glamour that is there in Mrs. pageants is different, I will say, if not lesser, If I was competing in a Mrs. Pageant, I would use this as an opportunity to create a statement style for all those women who feel that after a certain age or in this particular decade, they no longer can wear glamorous clothes, or how do I feel sexy at 45? Maybe that's something that you can stand for, and you can show how it is possible to have timeless elegance in your wardrobe. I would, however, do my research and look at what were the previous winners wearing, what was their wardrobe style, and not copy it, but rather take inspiration from it and develop your own signature style. I tried to cover as much information as I possibly could in this episode. However, if you still have any questions, you can always drop them in the comment section below, where I try to answer as many doubts as I can. If you liked this video, please give it a big thumbs up, and also don't forget to subscribe down to the channel and turn on the notification bell, because there's going to be a lot more in store for you pageant aspirants. With that being said, I love you guys so much, and I will see you very soon in my next video. Bye!